Hi there, Wednesday Night Poetry. I'm Heidi Seaborn. I'm in Seattle. And Kai, thank you so much for having me here and for everything you do for the poetry community. Gosh, dang, we're like halfway through National Poetry Month, and it feels like it's just been a wild online festival of reading and writing and workshops, and it's so good, and I hope everybody's having a wonderful time of it. I am so delighted to be reading here tonight with Matt and Emily and Teresa and to everyone in the open mic. All right, well, let's go for it. I'm going to start by reading from my brand new chapbook right off the press, literally just arrived, from Comstock Review. It was their 2020 chapbook prize. All right, it's called Bite Marks. That was menopause, the butcher said, as he fingernailed the last remnant of uterus from his rubber gloves. He'd put his knife down, bloodied from excavating my ovaries, thinking I was done with them, and no one else would want potatoes dotted with eyes as they were. Then he turned to the rest of me. An inside-out job. He saved, or was it savored? My fatted flesh for last. He skinned me, knife serrating bite marks along my spine. From there it was easy to peel the last of my beauty, all the while everyone gushing, "You look so good for your age." Speaking of age, on turning 60, when I leave my husband alone for an evening, he microwaves the soup I make in batches for nights like this. It could be a dress rehearsal. You never know. At this age, everyone's had a Guggenheim. I applaud myself with my mother's hands. How old is the cheese in the fridge bin? I should grate some over the soup. I should be grateful for such good genes. Empathy is in short supply when all around me the lamentations of swanning 30-year-olds. I've caught myself in so many lies. Weights and measurements are an inexact science. I prefer the fashion statement. I prefer a bit of flair, even when it makes me appear aloof. Or did I mean to say alive? My mind swerves over the median. I've crossed so many lines. What do you think of this scarf? I've had it for ages. So that's Bite Marks. And next I'm going to read from my forthcoming collection. It's called An Insomniac'S Slumber Party with Marilyn Monroe. And over my shoulder you can see a poster for it. And you're actually seeing the cover reveal or something kind of similar to what it's going to look like. It's being published by Pank as their Poetry Prize winner for 2020 on June 1st, which happens to be Marilyn Monroe's 95th birthday. So I'm pretty excited about it. I'm going to read a series of poems from it, kind of like a chunk of series. But before I do that, I want to just give you a little bit of a primer on what this whole collection looks like. It's what I would call a middle of the night conversation between Marilyn, or the ghost of Marilyn, and the speaker, who's a chronic insomniac. Both Marilyn was also a chronic insomniac. So they're talking about life, all the things, work and children and not children, and marriage and divorce and love and obsessions and addictions and abuse, objectification, you name it. So you've got two voices, they toggle back and forth in conversation, and there's a bit of blurring that happens, which is, to me, very much what happens in the middle of the night. And these two women have so much in common, as it turns out. So the first poem I'm going to read was inspired by a story that Amy Green, a friend of Marilyn's, told. And Amy Green was married to Milton Green, who was a photographer of Marilyn. In fact, the photograph that you see over my shoulder that's on the cover of my book is from Milton Green, and he was also her producing partner. But Amy describes walking on the streets of New York with Marilyn, and nobody noticed who they were. And then suddenly Marilyn said, "Do you want me to turn her on?" Meaning Marilyn, because she very much saw herself as sort of Norma Jean, and then she would create this character. And so she did. She threw back her shoulders, she set her hips swaying, and suddenly Amy said, traffic literally stopped. So this is about that dichotomy. It's called Sometimes I Just Want to Be Norma Jean. I slice myself in half like a lemon, leave Marilyn in the vestibule. Tell me, is she peering out the paned window as I tie on my scarf, settle my sunglasses, and step out in the half-sunlit street? As I reach the East River, could I slip the railing and be pulled on a barge out to sea? We always leave each other like this, one or the other. I tell her I need to walk, shake the bones that scuff under my flesh. I tell her I may follow the trail of autumn leaves that color the sidewalk. Disappear. Earthbound. And when I wrote this, I imagined Marilyn on the day before she died, in her kitchen. Earthbound. Oh, lemon, I know nothing so sweet. Rough-fleshed, fallen fruit, we are so earthbound. Standing, knife in hand, peels curl the sink, juice stings each slight, my skin sunlit. Combustible as tinder, a warbler's nest, this short, flaming life. And the next poem I'm going to read is called Seasonal Disorder, and it actually is the one poem that appears in both Bite Marks and in Insomniac's Slumber Party from Marilyn Monroe. It just kind of fit into both narratives. Seasonal disorder, fallen pears, still that yellowish green, chartreuse sounds too fancy for fruit that no one bothered to pick in its moment of ripeness, fat bottoms swollen, sugared, weighted branches heaving. It will rain soon, the fruit browning, falling before the leaves that already mimic sunflowers in decay. Can I hit the pause button now? Stop before I mark another year without my father. His absence on my shoulders like the cardigan I carry just in case. My mother's handbag bulges a sweater, sewing and first aid kits, bag of almonds, wool hat, umbrella. You never know. You never know. Curating death. When my father died, I wrote his obit and said he loved his family more than anything. After all, he'd become us in the end. I think of his face, the one I wear alone. If I'm ever alone in the tick, tick, like Marilyn alone, tick, tick, tick. She asked for Judy garlands over the rainbow and champagne silk lining her coffin. I want ashes, just ashes. So I wrote a poem that's a longish poem called Insomnia Diary, and it's really sort of a series of snapshots that are evocative of that feeling of being an insomniac. And for those of you who are, you know that feeling when the adrenaline kicks in. And then I took that poem and I scattered it throughout the manuscript. So it's kind of this drumbeat of insomnia that reminds you that you are up in the middle of the night, night after night after night. This one's called 2:37 a.m. I hum like the dart and hover of bees in my lavender. I hum like a car engine hums in idle. My heart hums, vibrating. I count minutes, hours, each breath, countries I've visited, men I've known. And the last poem I'm going to read is what I think of, sadly, as the death poem. I'd say about 2/3 of the poems in this book started out in form, and then I unraveled the form. And so this poem actually started out as a full crown of sonnets, of Petrarchian sonnets, and you'll get there's only 6 of them left, fortunately, but you'll get a sense of what is left, and a little bit of that sort of hint of a rhyme scheme in there. And this, just to let you know, this takes place on the last night of Marilyn's life. She was in her home, in her bedroom, and taking barbiturates and making phone calls. And so some of the phone calls are based on what I know from my research, and some are also based on what I know from my research, but are fabricated. All right, it's called Hello, It's Me, Marilyn, August 4th, 1962, 4:16 p.m. Dr. Greenson, are you there? My ears, I can't hear. Dr. Engelberg left me a satchel of pills. I've lined them up along the windowsill like a string of pearls glistening round my neck. I feel lost in someone's garden. Ivy and jasmine tangle, a swarm of bees billowing the lavender. They honey and swirl the air. I'm in such a mood. Dr. Greenson, come rescue me. 7:10 p.m. Hello, Peter. Dr. Greenson's just gone. A dinner party tonight? Lovely. I'm tired, need rest, already in bed, a mess. It's late, I've nothing on. I guess if Bobby's going to be around, I could wear that Balenciaga gown, have Whitey come fix my face. It's been stung, my eyes, lips, bees everywhere. I know I sound crazy, they swarm. No Bobby, I'll stay home. Kiss Pat goodbye, the president too, and you, sweet guy. 7:27 p.m. Whitey, my prince, no need to come over, no president, no brother, no bother. I'm staying in with my hive. I'm their queen, pillowed by the buzz. Whitey, my love, don't worry. I'll sleep off this sadness. I promise. Tomorrow. 10:23 p.m. I dreamt I had a father, handsome as Clark Gable. At night, he'd hum me to sleep, and I'd dream I had a father who dreamt he had a daughter. He found her in the phone book under pretty. He found her at the orphanage in the city, lost amongst the wingless angels, piles of fallen stars. He found her drinking whatever's in style. Daddy, look me in the eye. You know it's me, your girl, the child you've never seen. Don't hang up. I'm your Norma Jean. 10:49 p.m. Hello, little Jellybane. Hush, baby child. I've lost you in the wilderness when you fled like a rabbit. I lost you in the ocean when you swam with rainbow fins. I lost you down the drain, a diamond ring. I lost my grip on you, sweet pink thing. Shush, don't cry. I lost you in a pillbox, but shush, don't tell a soul. I lost you, you were just a gust. I lost you to the bees. My head's a buzzy hive. They stung my babies and left me alive. 11:24 p.m. Mama, remember me? Waving from up in the fig tree. You wore lemon yellow. You laughed. Remember that? Before the bees, hear them sing, flickering wings. Thank you. Thank you so much. And have a good night.